There are certain nights when the human heart becomes very still. Not because love has gone away, but because it is quietly waiting, hoping it will not be misunderstood in the wrong way. And if these words somehow reached you today, maybe a part of your soul is already tired of acting like it does not care anymore, while another part still quietly wishes someone, somewhere, is holding on to you with the same intensity. Because the truth is, someone does love you more deeply than you realize. Not in the loud or dramatic way films often show love, not through perfect timing or flawless words, but through hesitation, emotional confusion, and distance that hides fear rather than lack of care. And before you convince yourself to walk away completely, there is something important you need to understand. Some hearts do not stop loving you when they go silent. Sometimes silence is just the final protection of a soul that is afraid of losing what it cannot fully express. Human beings are strange when it comes to love, especially when love becomes real. We spend so much of our lives believing we want deep emotional connection, yet the moment someone truly reaches the hidden parts of us, fear begins to rise. Carl Jung once described the unconscious mind like a deep, hidden ocean beneath human behavior. And when someone truly loves you, they are not only touching your surface personality, they are unknowingly waking up the abandoned parts buried underneath it. Your insecurities, your unmet emotional needs, your loneliness, your desire to finally be chosen without conditions. That kind of connection changes people. It shakes something inside them. It brings forward emotional wounds they have spent years avoiding, even facing within themselves. This is why someone can deeply care for you and still pull away exactly when you need reassurance the most. It feels confusing, but psychologically it makes sense. Love is not only comfort. Love is exposure. Love is vulnerability. It is standing emotionally open in front of another person and hoping they will not use your softness against you. And many people were never taught how to handle emotional closeness safely. They learned how to deal with disappointment. They learned how to look strong. They learned how to hide emotions. But they never learned how to receive love without fear. So when they start becoming emotionally attached to you, something inside them begins to shift in ways they cannot fully explain. Your presence starts affecting their inner emotional state. Your silence suddenly feels meaningful. Your attention becomes regulating for them. Your absence starts to feel heavier than expected. And that creates fear inside them. Because once someone has the ability to affect your emotional world, your mind immediately recognizes risk. Losing them suddenly feels possible. Abandonment starts to feel real again. Your carefully built emotional independence no longer feels fully safe. Many people confuse emotional distance with lack of love, but often emotional distance is actually a sign of emotional overwhelm. There are people who become cold because they do not care, and there are others who become distant because they care too much. The second type is harder to understand because their actions do not match their emotions. Their heart moves closer while their fear pulls them away. One part of them wants connection. Another part keeps asking, what if it ends badly like before? And without realizing it, they begin protecting themselves from pain that has not even happened yet. Maybe you have felt this same contradiction too. The inconsistency, the warmth followed by silence, the way they look at you when they think you are not noticing, the way they remember small details about you without trying, the emotional tension even in simple conversations. And still something feels unfinished, something feels blocked. It is almost like their heart leans toward you while their mind keeps stepping back. This is what unresolved emotional wounds often look like. People think trauma always looks dramatic, but most emotional wounds are quiet. They hide in attachment styles, fear of closeness, and emotional withdrawal. Some people pull away the moment they start caring deeply, because closeness unconsciously brings up pain they never healed from. Maybe they once loved someone who left them. Maybe they grew up learning that expressing emotions led to rejection. Maybe vulnerability once caused them deep shame, and now their nervous system treats closeness like danger. And the painful part is that they may not even understand why they behave this way. The subconscious mind drives more behavior than most people realize. Comment still waiting. If you are holding on to someone who went quiet, but you still feel their love, understand this. A person can genuinely love you and still sabotage the connection because their nervous system links love with emotional risk. They want closeness, but closeness triggers fear. They want intimacy, but intimacy brings vulnerability. So they begin sending mixed signals without even understanding it themselves. This is why emotionally mature love requires patience more than passion. Passion is easy. Anyone can feel strong attraction for a moment. But real love asks something deeper. It asks a person to slowly remove their emotional armor. It asks them to trust again after disappointment. It asks them to stay open even in uncertainty. And for many people, that feels frightening because they have built their entire identity around emotional protection. You also need to understand something about silence. Silence is not always emptiness. Sometimes silence is emotional processing happening underneath the surface. Some people express emotions immediately. Others go inward when feelings become too intense. They retreat into thoughts, confusion, and internal conflict. Especially those who have spent years suppressing vulnerability, their silence is not always punishment. Sometimes it is survival. But this creates misunderstandings. One person reads silence as rejection, while the other experiences it as protection. One feels abandoned, while the other feels overwhelmed. And slowly, two people who truly care begin to drift apart. Not because love is gone, but because fear becomes louder than communication. This is where many people give up too soon. They mistake emotional complexity for emotional absence. They think love should always look clear, stable, and easy. But deep psychological connections are rarely simple. They activate the deepest layers of identity. They expose insecurities, fears, and emotional patterns people did not even know were still active inside them. Carl Jung believed that real love acts like a mirror, not just comfort, but reflection. And that is why certain connections feel so intense. They awaken emotional awareness. They reveal hidden fears. They expose the need for reassurance, fear of abandonment, tendency to overgive, and feelings of not being enough. Suddenly, another person unknowingly connects to parts of you that were still wounded. And they might be experiencing their own inner conflict at the same time. They may lie awake thinking about your conversations while acting normal during the day. Type yes if you want me to reveal more hidden psychology behind why they pull away. They may resist messaging you because pride interferes. They may miss you deeply while telling themselves distance is necessary. And the sad truth of human psychology is this. People often hurt the ones they love the most, because those are the only ones who can hurt them back in return. When you start seeing this through a psychological lens instead of only an emotional one, everything shifts. You stop assuming every confusing action means lack of love. You start recognizing defense mechanisms underneath behavior, the delayed replies, the inconsistency, the withdrawal after closeness, the emotional restraint. None of these patterns are healthy when left unresolved, but they are human. And maybe this is what your heart needs to understand. Not every emotionally distant person is emotionally empty. Some are simply emotionally exhausted from living with a guarded heart. There are people carrying silent grief that no one ever noticed. People who learn to appear independent because depending on others once hurt them deeply. People who still crave softness, but panic when it actually arrives consistently. People who have forgotten how to trust calm love because chaos once felt familiar. If this person truly loves you, their internal struggle may be deeper than what you can see right now. But there is another truth you must not ignore. Love alone is not enough without growth. You cannot heal someone by sacrificing yourself endlessly. You cannot fix another person's fear by giving up your own emotional well-being. Real connection requires responsibility from both sides. Compassion matters, but so does self-respect. Understanding someone's wounds should never mean losing yourself completely. This is where emotional maturity matters. Mature love does not beg. It does not destroy itself to prove worth. It does not chase endlessly while losing dignity. Mature love has patience without self-abandonment. It creates space without disappearing. It shows care without losing boundaries. And sometimes the most loving thing is not forcing connection, but allowing space for someone to face themselves honestly. Because real change cannot be controlled from the outside. A person only changes when they become tired of repeating the same inner cycles. Maybe this connection came into your life not only to show you love, but to awaken something within you psychologically. To teach you the difference between attachment and true alignment. To show you how much you actually need emotional reciprocity. To make you notice where you ignore your own intuition because of fear of loss. Think about this carefully. Have there been moments when your inner voice already knew the truth before your mind accepted it? Moments when you sensed their emotions beneath their words. Human beings are far more intuitive than they realize. The subconscious constantly reads energy, tone, silence, expressions, and emotional shifts. Long before logic understands, something inside already knows. That is why some people remain unforgettable. Not because they were perfect, but because they awakened something inside you that was asleep. And awakening is rarely comfortable. Sometimes it comes through confusion, longing, emotional distance, and missing someone deeply enough to finally face your own loneliness. Pain has a psychological role. It removes illusions. It reveals truth. It shows what still needs healing. That is why some connections change your inner world, even if they never fully stabilize outside. They push growth. They create awareness. They force emotional evolution. And maybe this person is standing near that transformation themselves. Maybe they are slowly realizing that avoidance does not protect them anymore. Maybe your absence is making them face emotions they tried to ignore. Comment Jung if Carl Jung's words on love and fear just hit you deeply. Maybe they are starting to realize that real love cannot survive forever inside silence and pride. Because sooner or later, every human being reaches a point where loneliness starts to feel heavier than vulnerability. And when that moment comes, people begin to shift. Not suddenly, not perfectly, but slowly. They start seeing the emotional walls they built around themselves. They begin to notice how often fear has been guiding their choices. They realize how many chances for real connection they pushed away while trying to protect themselves from getting hurt. And for the first time, they understand that emotional safety cannot exist without emotional openness. This awareness changes everything. But while they go through their own inner awakening, you still have to continue yours. Do not let uncertainty break your sense of self-worth. Do not allow someone else's emotional confusion make you believe you are hard to love or not enough. The way someone responds to closeness often says more about their relationship with themselves than it does about your value as a person. Many emotionally unavailable people are not holding back love because you are unworthy. They hold back because they are scared. Scared of needing someone, scared of emotional dependence, scared of rejection, scared of losing control, scared of being fully seen. And strangely, the deeper they feel, the more afraid they become. This creates an inner conflict. They want closeness, but also resist it at the same time. And unless they heal consciously, they stay stuck between fear and desire. But you cannot carry the emotional weight of two people. You can love someone deeply and still choose emotional balance. You can understand someone's psychology without accepting endless inconsistency. Compassion should never turn into self-destruction. This is one of the most important truths emotionally aware people eventually learn. Love should expand you, not slowly erase you. And still, even with all this complexity, there are connections worth holding on to. Rare connections where two people slowly learn each other's fears with softness instead of judgment. Connections where emotional walls begin to soften over time. Connections where both choose healing instead of ego. These kinds of relationships do exist, but they require honesty, responsibility, vulnerability, patience, and emotional courage. Most importantly, they require two people willing to stop running from themselves. Because every relationship eventually becomes a mirror of the self. You cannot truly love another person while staying disconnected from your own emotional truth. That is why inner shadow work matters. Shadow work is not just a spiritual idea. Psychologically, it means facing the hidden parts of yourself honestly. The jealousy you deny, the fear you hide, the loneliness you avoid, the emotional patterns you repeat without noticing, the wounds you pretend no longer affect you. Until someone faces these inner layers, relationships keep repeating the same pain in different forms. Maybe this person is finally starting to face their shadow because of you. Maybe your love became too real to ignore, too emotionally honest, too awakening on a deep psychological level. And even if they are not fully healed yet, something inside them knows this connection matters. Human beings do not struggle emotionally this deeply over someone who means nothing to them. Real emotional conflict only exists where real attachment exists. That is why indifference feels simple and cold, while love feels complicated and alive. When someone truly does not care, their energy feels flat. But when someone loves you deeply while also fighting inner fear, their energy becomes inconsistent, intense, confusing, and emotionally charged. You can feel that internal conflict even without words. You may have already sensed it. The emotional pull, the unfinished feeling, that strange inner knowing that something real still exists beneath the silence. And maybe you have questioned yourself many times because of it. Maybe part of you wonders if you are imagining everything. But deep intuition is rarely random. The subconscious mind often picks up emotional truths that are not spoken out loud. Still, intuition must always be balanced with wisdom. Share this with someone who is overthinking a silent connection right now. Do not romanticize emotional pain endlessly. Do not become addicted to uncertainty just because intensity feels meaningful. Some people stay stuck in painful emotional cycles because unpredictability creates a kind of psychological addiction. The nervous system begins to attach itself to emotional highs and lows, and after that, calm love can feel unfamiliar, even boring, because chaos once felt like chemistry. This is why healing changes attraction. Emotionally healed people stop chasing confusion just to feel something real. They begin to value consistency, emotional safety, honesty, and peace. They stop confusing emotional unavailability with depth. They stop trying to earn love through suffering. And maybe this whole experience is slowly leading you to that realization too. Because sometimes, life does not bring someone into your world just to complete you. Sometimes they come to transform you, to raise your standards, to increase your emotional awareness, to teach you that your heart deserves clarity, not confusion forever. At the same time, emotional transformation takes time for everyone involved. If this person truly loves you, they may be fighting battles inside themselves that no one else can see. Battles between old wounds and new hope, between fear and desire, between self-protection and emotional surrender. And maybe right now, they are somewhere alone, thinking about you, replaying moments in their mind, wondering if it is already too late to come forward honestly. The human heart carries regret more heavily than rejection. Many people avoid vulnerability in the short term, only to realize later that silence itself became the reason they lost something important. Do not underestimate how deeply people can feel emotions they struggle to express. Some of the deepest love exists quietly, hidden beneath restraint. Not because restraint is ideal, but because humans are imperfect and emotionally shaped by their past. That is what makes love both beautiful and painful at the same time. Two wounded people trying to trust each other while carrying invisible scars. Two nervous systems shaped by different kinds of pain. Two inner children asking the same silent question. Will you stay if you truly see me? And maybe that question is alive in this connection too. Because beneath pride, beneath silence, beneath fear, there is often just a person afraid they are not enough for the one they love. People rarely admit this openly, but many emotionally distant individuals secretly believe they will eventually disappoint the people they care about. So they create distance first, thinking it will protect them from abandonment later. It is a form of unconscious self-protection. If I stay distant, losing them will hurt less. But love does not obey that logic. Guarded love still hurts. Silent love still aches. Suppressed emotions still leave scars. And eventually the heart becomes tired of holding feelings that were never expressed honestly. This is why emotional truth matters. Not performance, not manipulation, not dependency disguised as love. Real truth sounds like, I am afraid, but I care. I do not fully understand myself, but you matter to me. Losing you feels heavier than I can explain. Those honest moments are what change relationships. And if this person ever reaches that emotional place, everything between you could shift. But until then, your job is not to lose yourself in waiting. Keep healing, keep growing, keep becoming whole, no matter what happens. Because your worth does not decrease just because someone else is confused. You are not difficult to love. You are not too much. You are not wrong for wanting clarity, consistency, and emotional presence. Never let someone's emotional wounds convince you that your needs are too much just because they struggle with intimacy. Healthy love is not always perfect, but it should feel safe enough to breathe inside. And one day, whether with this person or someone else aligned with your depth, you will experience a connection that no longer requires constant decoding. A connection where love is not hidden behind fear all the time. A connection where honesty replaces silence. A connection where two people stop pretending they do not feel deeply for each other. But before that future arrives, this present connection may still be teaching something important to both of you. Maybe closure. Maybe growth, maybe awakening, maybe courage. Only time reveals that. Do not ignore what your inner truth is already trying to tell you. Somewhere, someone truly loves you. Not superficially, not temporarily, not casually, but deeply, quietly, and genuinely, even if imperfectly expressed. And before you give up completely, understand that people sometimes need time to become emotionally capable of the love they already feel inside. Healing is rarely fast. Emotional awareness rarely arrives neatly. People often only become emotionally ready after nearly losing what mattered most. That is the painful part of growth, but also its meaning. Because sometimes, right when hope feels gone, truth finally becomes clear. And maybe this story is not ending the way fear keeps telling you it is. Maybe this silence is not the end of love. Maybe it is the difficult phase before honesty finally appears. So tonight, before you convince yourself you were never cared for, remember this. Not everyone who seems distant has stopped feeling. Some are simply fighting internal battles between love and fear. And if your heart still feels something real, despite all logic, there may be a reason for that. Two souls might still be trying, in their own quiet ways, to find their way back to honesty. Until then, protect your peace. But do not close your heart completely. Stay wise, but not cold. Type awakening if this message is helping you understand your emotions more clearly. Because people who keep believing in love, even after disappointment, are often the ones who eventually experience its deepest form. And maybe one day, you will look back at this phase not as the moment love disappeared, but as the moment you finally learned what real emotional clarity feels like. If these words reached something inside you, hold on to that feeling gently. Somewhere within you, you already know which connections are real and which ones are not. Thank you for being here in this moment. And if this journey spoke to the quiet parts of you that are rarely understood, stay close to this space. There is still much to understand about love, healing, human psychology, and emotional growth. Until next time, take care of your heart in a gentle way, and never forget how deeply you deserve to be loved.